We're often asked, what is a typical client? And the short answer is there isn't much of a typical client, but we'll do our best. In the main, we serve organizations which are at least Series A or beyond. So we have many clients which are growth organizations that are beyond the first round of financing, and we'll have employees from 100 employees upwards. We serve clients that are, frankly, the largest companies in the world. We serve clients that are listed on exchanges around the world: London, NASDAQ, Karachi Exchange, exchanges in Saudi Arabia. And we also have many clients that are private and family owned. Let me give you a few examples, without naming names, of the kinds of organizations which we serve recently. Take, for example, a listed company in the Indian subcontinent. We're serving that client from London with the team that's based here. We've worked with them for 2.5 years now. We are helping them to implement a long-term incentive plan for the first time. And we were introduced to them because they had used a number of different providers of compensation consultancy up to the time they met us. But what they were looking for was our experience actually thinking about what would work with their organization and implementing it. They are a chemicals and fertilizers, what I call downstream chemicals company. They have some family ownership but are listed. The organization will introduce the long-term incentive plan with environmental, social, and governance metrics built into both their short and long-term incentives. And that's very unique for that particular geography. So it's been useful for them to access what one might call the Anglo-Saxon norms, the UK norms for incentive compensation design. It's been inexpensive because we're serving them via virtual meetings. We haven't physically met. We have actually served them using video throughout. And we have a very warm relationship. It's a fascinating and very useful and fulfilling engagement. A second client example is a telecommunications company based in Amsterdam, which is listed. They have a remuneration committee with very clever, very experienced board members, a relatively inexperienced human resources department, and a relatively new director of reward. And our role was to guide the new chairman of the remuneration committee and the relatively fresh and inexperienced reward function through some extremely difficult challenges. They had 2 senior managers vying for the same position, one of whom wouldn't make it and the other would. So the contractual obligations on both sides of that conversation. We had to design a incentive plan that would work in a company that was very cynical about whether incentives would work. We had to help them fundamentally change the weight of pay from one which was guaranteed to one that was far more performance-based. And we had to do all of that across a range of very challenging geographic regions. Again, we have served them for probably 2 or more years and probably will continue into the future. Example 3 is a French media company. We were asked to help them at a time when they acquired an American digital organization of a smaller size that had a disruptive offering that competed in their space and gave them a competitive advantage. The incentives which were in place in America were fundamentally different from those that existed in Paris. In America, they were offered a great deal of long-term incentive, even down to the middle of the organization. The bonus was also really quite material, but the salaries were relatively low. In Paris, it was almost the reverse. There were far more attractive base pay, pension, very limited bonus, and almost no long-term incentives. So you have two companies coming together with different cultures, speaking different languages, but more fundamentally with different incentive plans. And one of the things that was required, in addition to understanding how to bring the two incentive plans like that together, was the cultural differences and the different value systems that were to merge and have merged successfully, as it turns out. And we've helped that client through that process, and we would be delighted to help you do something similar.